herring spawn is the most exciting time. And all through the end of February, the eagles are gathering and the sea lions are congregating at the end of the island, and you can start hearing them through the fog of the winter, and all the birds that migrate start to assemble. Like, this is an important bird area, and hundreds of thousands of birds come here and await the herring themselves and their eggs as sort of essential food source so that they can fuel going north and having babies and all that it takes to carry on the next generation. And so too the sea lions. And with the sea lions, along come the orca, the kind that hunt sea lions and seals. So it's a pretty serious situation out there. Each year you start to walk along the shores, and there's this whole growing anticipation, and then finally the time comes sometime early in March, and you see the first turquoise waters where the spawn has started. And the eagles are pitching into the water, and the sea lions are feasting, and there's real joy. There's complete joy, and you feel it yourself. And you know, otters are running along the beach, and mink are out there scavenging, and every animal is just in its element down on the beach, feasting. And it's so important, and I realize that without it, the whole marine ecosystem for the Strait of Georgia would founder, because it relies on this one herring run each year to stoke and fuel the whole marine food web, right? From the bottom, it's the most important forage fish we've got.
As we look at fisheries and management, it's important to think about what areas can we put aside that we don't need to touch. And we can think of it as being like our savings account, the herring trust. Because ultimately, you want to know that you've got a bank account we can always count on. Those funds will always be there. We don't need to deplete those. And it's going to pay us dividends that we can sleep easy at night, knowing that next year, the next decade, the next century, there'll always be herring here because we were smart enough to put some aside.
Long live herring. We need them. My species needs them. My species, not my species. The species I study, the big gulping humpbacks that are back, and that there simply isn't the case that the management of herring has taken into account the varying ocean conditions that we humans have created on top of whatever happens cyclically, and also that there's a huge shift in the number of predators, the humpbacks, the sea lions. We get a second chance with them. And all of that is being fueled by herring.
When you see the biomass of herring around Hornby this time of year, I think everybody realizes, or should, we need to preserve that in order to make sure that these top predators can continue to thrive in these waters.
We lived in Banfield over on the west coast, and those spawns were just unbelievable. It was vital. It was a vital food source for all these animals. And we were there for 15, 20 years, and they just disappeared. They were overfished. We knew the DFO was allowing the huge amounts of seine boats to come in and overfish them, and they're gone. So that was my personal experience in my small lifetime. To see something like that gone in my small little lifetime is frightening. And so now that I'm over here, I'm going to fight hard to make sure that this herring spawn is protected.
It's a roe fishery. The roe are sold on the Asian market, mostly to Japan, I think. And the roe is only actually 10% of the female body weight, or 20% of the female body weight, so they catch both the males and the females. The other 90% of that herring biomass is ground up into fish food for the fish farm industry. So it's called a roe fishery, but 90% of the fish themselves are actually ground up into into fish food, which we think is a travesty.
I mean, what is the point of this? This is ridiculous. It's not creating jobs for fishermen or for plant workers. It's not helping the economy. All it is destroying one of our most precious resources. The fishers used to earn $5,000 a ton for their fish. Now they earn as little as $300 a ton. So it's time we did something about it, and it's time we stopped clear-cutting the ocean. So it's time to shut down this fishery, this commercial fishery, before it becomes another environmental tragedy. And it's up to us to see that this happens.
Doug Hay, marine scientist for many years, a specialist in herring, says that 38% of all the herring that you find in the Strait of Georgia come from this one place, are spawned and grow here, right? So that's an awful lot of the food for all the other animals, right? And right now we really feel that it's threatened.
The Department of Fisheries and Oceans, the federal government, they have the legal responsibility for managing fish in our oceans. And they manage it under their management plan for herring, under what they call precautionary principles and ecosystem-based management and risk aversion. And we talk to people, we talk to ex-fishermen, we talk to DFO scientists themselves, and they don't even believe their own story. This is what amazes me. They don't believe their own story. We talked to this ex-doctor, PhD scientist that worked for the government for 30 years. He said 8 times in the interview, listening to him, we just don't know. We just don't know. Well, how can you have a precautionary principle based on you just don't know? So if you just don't know, in our world, you don't do it.
The vast majority of the people on Hornby and Denman Islands and in the north central Salish Sea want to see this herring roe fishery stopped or severely reduced. There's no good reason to continue killing this crucial species and risking the destruction of our ocean ecosystem.
The best approach going forward is to look at what's truly unique about Hornby and Denman and the waters around it. So the 2 things that stand out, one is that you've got an incredible abundance of wildlife that comes here. Every year it comes here because of the herring. And that's the second reason, is that the herring that spawn here are dependable. They've always come here, and they always will if given a chance.